This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Good morning and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Monday, October 25. In Squiz Kids Today, all eyes on Glasgow as summit looms. The world's biggest ferris wheel. Cracking weekend for Aussie sport, and YouTuber in trouble over blue light claims. That's what's making news, kid style.
The lowdown.
Glasgow, Glasgow, Glasgow. You're going to hear that word thrown around a lot in the next week or so. So, what is it, and why is it important? Glasgow is a city in Scotland. It's also the venue for a big climate change meeting that starts next Sunday, where over 20,000 people from countries all over the world will come together to work out the best way to stop climate change and global warming. So, a pretty big deal. You'll hear lots of people calling the meeting COP26. COP is short for Conference of the Parties, which is just a fancy way of saying meeting. And the 26 refers to the fact that this is the 26th year countries of the world have been getting together to develop strategies to reduce climate change. Everyone from the Queen to the Pope to Greta Thunberg is expected to attend the Glasgow meeting, including our own Prime Minister. So what will the leaders of all the world's nations do there? In a nutshell, they've got to explain what steps they will be taking back in their home countries to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Now, those are the emissions that go up into the atmosphere from the burning of fossil fuels, things like coal, oil and gas, and which scientists say are making our planet warmer. Now, a warmer planet might sound like a good thing. I mean, who doesn't like to be warm, after all? But the thing is, the planet we live on, and we only have one of them, remember, relies on us having a really delicate balance of hot and cold temperatures. So when we do something to throw that balance out, there's evidence to suggest it leads to weather extremes, which can have a really negative impact on every living thing on the planet. So, expect lots of talk about how the world changes to renewable energy sources, like, for example, driving electric cars instead of petrol ones, and the things that each one of us can do to help look after this planet that we all live on together. I've stuck a link to a good COP26 explainer in today's episode notes.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Dubai, the glistening city of skyscrapers in the middle of the Arabian desert, where the biggest ferris wheel in the world has just been unveiled. Standing 250 metres high, so 1/4 of a kilometre, the Dubai Eye, as it's called, is twice as high as the London Eye Ferris wheel and takes 38 minutes to do one single rotation. Dubai is also home to the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, so they excel at tall stuff. I've stuck a link to a video in today's episode notes of Dubai's Crown Prince Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, wow, what a name, sitting on top of one of the pods to mark its grand opening. It's so high up and looks so crazy precarious that it makes my stomach churn just a little bit.
Sport time.
And it was a cracking weekend for Aussie sport, no matter what your preferred code. The Wallabies, Australia's national men's rugby union team, pulled off a close victory over Japan on Saturday afternoon, beating the Brave Blossoms by 32-23. And yes, Brave Blossoms is the Japanese team's name, which, while lovely, is not exactly fear-inducing. Then it was the turn of the Matildas, Australia's national women's soccer team, with their convincing win over Brazil in front of 15,000 fans in Sydney on Saturday. The Matildas sent 3 goals to the back of the net compared to Brazil's 1, ensuring the Aussies maintained their unbeaten 5-year winning streak against one of the world's powerhouse football nations. And to round off the international effort for the green and gold, Australia's cricketers in the men's T20 World Cup in Abu Dhabi, not far from Dubai as it happens, started their World Cup campaign with a narrow win over South Africa, with paceman Josh Hazlewood starring by helping to keep the South Africans to only 118 runs. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Newshounds.
This week is Media Literacy Week, and that means an extra busy week for Squizzy the Newshound as he sniffs out misinformation and fishy stories on the internet. And today, Squizzy has sniffed out a good one. You might have heard of the YouTuber Valkyrie. I hadn't until today, but hey, I don't spend nearly as much time on YouTube as my kids do. She's got 3.5 million subscribers, however, so, lots of people pay attention to what she has to say. Last week, she announced she had released a skincare range, so creams that she claimed would protect against blue light damage. Blue light is the light that comes off your phone or iPad or TV screen. Valkyrie was yesterday forced to apologise to her followers after lots of doctors and scientists and people who actually know stuff about blue light and skincare took to social media and criticised her for promoting products that she hadn't properly researched, and whose claims to protect against blue light skin damage were dodgy. As Squizzy says each week, whenever a good newshound comes across information on the internet, they stop, think, and check. Who's giving us the information, and what have they got to gain by telling it to us? I've stuck a link to a blue light information resource from an actual university in today's episode notes for you to check for yourselves. Thanks, Squizzy.
Squiz Kids for schools.
This coming Friday is World Teachers' Day in Australia. And to mark the occasion, we're offering a year's subscription to Squiz Kids for schools to one lucky school whose teacher signs up to our free trial this week. Depending on the size of your school, that's a prize value of up to $3,000. So, teachers, what are you waiting for? Get involved. Squiz Kids for Schools is daily access to a range of excellent teacher-generated classroom resources tied to this podcast. And if you've already signed up, good on you. Now, just get one of your colleagues to do it, and your school can be in the running to win.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. Which country did the Matildas beat in a friendly game in Sydney on Saturday? That's right, it was Brazil. Question number 2. In which city is the COP26 global climate meeting taking place? You got it, it's Glasgow. Question number 3. Name the city in the Arabian Desert which now has the world's largest ferris wheel. You got it, it's Dubai.
Shout outs.
It's October 22. All of New South Wales school kids return to the classroom today. Have a whole heap of fun back at school with your friends, New South Wales Squiz Kids. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Chardia from Griffith, Aidan from Narrowena, Ada from Shenton Park, Benjamin from South Kingsville, and Diego from Maitland. And a belated birthday shout-out goes to Savannah from Glen Innes. And although school kids are slowly returning to the classrooms, we're still sending out home learning herograms. Today's go to Class 4M and Mrs. Mastramico at St Christopher's Primary School in Airport West. Also to Class 5M, Mrs. McKenna and Mrs. Cowan at Brighton Les Sands Public School. Students Hadrian and Atticus from the Anglican School in Googong sent a herogram to Miss D, Mrs. Junie, Miss Steele, Mrs. Howden, Mrs. Aitken and Mrs. Longney, all of whom have been so supportive during home learning. And one final herogram to Grade 1 and Ms. O'Toole at the Good Shepherd Primary School in Wheelers Hill. Not forgetting, of course, regular classroom shout-outs to those kids not in lockdown, to Stage 2 at Waitara Public School, 5R and Mrs. Redwin at Dobroyd Point Public School, and all of the Year 2 students at Annandale North Public School. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout-out, or if you're after a classroom shout-out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.